Suzi Quatro from 1980, Rock Hard. And I'm very happy to tell you that Suzi Quatro is on the phone with me now. Thank you for coming on with me, Suzi.
Oh, fantastic. How you doing?
Excellent here. First, Suzi, I want to say, and I believe I'm speaking for your fans at the same time, I'm happy to see that you've recovered well from that accident in Kiev.
Yeah, I'm just now getting pretty much back to normal. Every now and again you limp a little bit, because the ankle is protesting that it's carrying all the weight again. But I'm pretty much back to normal. I'd say about another 10% to go, and then I'll be fighting fit again.
Oh, that would be terrific. We're really happy to hear that. And as you know, we like bass players here on Revenge of the 80s Radio, Suzi. You grew up in Detroit, a hotbed of unique rock talent. And to be honest, your home was music-centric as well. Talk about growing up with a very talented family. We know about your sisters, and your dad led the Art Quattro Trio.
Whenever I talk about that upbringing, it's invaluable. We all were given the opportunity to learn whatever instrument happened to take our fancy, So I read and write piano and drums, taught myself bass guitar. And when I tell everybody how many instruments I play, I always have to follow it by saying, in my family, that's not a big deal. Because it was a musical family, and every one of us plays more than one instrument. It's just the way we grew up.
So how many instruments do you play?
I was taught piano and percussion, and then I taught myself bass and guitar. So 4 instruments.
So how encouraging were your parents to you and your sisters?
Totally. When I hear other musicians say that they had to fight their parents to be in a rock and roll band, it was completely the opposite for us. We had their blessings. My dad helped us get our first van. He did the down payment on the equipment. We had such a privileged upbringing that way. I mean, my first bass guitar that I was given to learn on was a 1957 Fender Precision. I mean, how disgusting is that?
I'd like one of those, even now. And I'm just starting to learn the bass, so that's a different story. But it would look nice in my hands, I'll tell you that.
But aren't your fingers sore? I hope you're using your fingers and not picking, because I don't like picked bass.
I'm not a picking kind of guy.
Good. When I play guitar, I don't play with a pick. I like the thump on the strings of your fingers. I think that's what makes a bass sound nice.
Sometimes people drop the pick in the middle of the concert, and they have to pick it up, and it goes all over the place. Then if you have those nails, if you're a female player, it's hard to pick. It's like picking up a dime. But anyway, we'll get into that at another time. What made you pick the bass as your, let's just say, major weapon of choice?
When we first started our band, way back in 1964, after seeing the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show, everybody just we decided it was going to be an all-girl band, which was very important to my sister. I didn't care so much, but she did. She had this thing about an all-girl band. And everybody just quickly chose an instrument, and there was actually nobody said bass. So my sister just said, "You're playing the bass." She actually instructed me to play the bass. And luckily for me, that when I picked it up and I put it on, it just was like coming home. It just fit me. It felt right on, and it sounded right. I just thought, oh, here's my instrument.
Sort of by force, but by choice later on.
Yes, absolutely.
Suzi Quatro is here with me on Revenge of the 80s Radio. You and your sister Patty started playing in your teens with the Pleasure Seekers in the mid-'60s. How did you become well-known in a music scene that included the likes of Alice Cooper, Bob Seger, and a lot of the other Detroit legends?
There were so few female musicians around at that time that we stuck out like a sore thumb anyway, We were an all-girl band. It just wasn't done. The very few all-girl bands that were around in America, we all knew each other. And we didn't, hang out with we didn't go out, I should say. We didn't date the other musicians, which also made us stand out like a sore thumb. I mean, they all talk about it now still to this day. You girls wouldn't date us. I said, no, we were musicians, But we were friends with everybody. We're still friends with everybody now. We were very much a part of the Detroit scene that was growing up all around us, very much so.
The Pleasure Seekers earned some good success and a major label recording contract with Mercury.
Yeah, we did. In fact, we got signed very quickly. We got signed first to the Golden World label in Detroit, then to the Hideout label, and we released our first single on that label called What a Way to Die. And then eventually we got signed by Mercury. But it's funny, when you talk about it, we didn't have any recording success as such. We didn't. But there are existing recordings that you can hear and play and blah, blah. I think we had our main success on gigging, to tell you the truth. We gigged everywhere.
From what I understand, I believe your sisters are putting together a collection, some kind of catalog of pleasure seekers and cradle music.
Yeah, they did do that. I was only in those bands. You know, it's funny because I was only in the bands for 9 years. And then from 71 onwards, I was a solo artist, which is the biggest part of my career. I don't know, you do the numbers, I can't do it, 40-something, as my own. But there is some surviving tapes and CDs and stuff, and I know my two sisters that were in the band, not the eldest one, she was in it too, but the youngest one and the one next to me, Patty, they did put together a retro collection of one Pleasure Seeker CD and one Cradle CD. And it's nice, you know, it's nice to have those memories.
Not only did you and your sisters succeed in a world where it was dominated by male bands and male hard rockers, but you and your sisters were also asked to play for the troops in Vietnam.
Yeah, God, this is a real old story. Yeah, they asked us if we could go over there and entertain the troops at an officers' club. And we stopped on the island of Guam overnight. And we found out that the club we were supposed to play at was bombed, believe it or not. Oh. So we had to go back. We didn't get to Vietnam, but what they did ask us to do was to entertain the troops just off the fighting field in the hospital, which is what we did. It was really, really awful. We had to walk through the corridors and cheer them up with the guitar, and I saw things that I wished I never had seen.
But I'm sure they really, really appreciated you guys being over there.
They did. It was just a very, not, I mean, it was just, I mean, I was glad to do it, but it's not a nice memory, you know.
You revamped the band, called yourselves Cradle, even changed the music a bit after the 60s success. But then, Suzi, you were offered a shot in Britain as a solo artist. Now, talk about the differences between the music industry in the U.S. and the U.K. in the early 70s.
Well, you'd already had the British invasion, and then it went into the hippie-trippy era. And then I think in the early 70s, probably Britain was a little bit more cutting edge, and they were ready to accept a solo, serious female rock and roller, which is what I was. You know, serious bass player. They'd never seen that before. And it was at the time, to go back in the memories, it was Cradle. We were doing all our own stuff. And my sisters know this. I didn't like Cradle that much because it just didn't fit me. The music we were doing didn't fit me. It was too many cooks spoil the broth as far as I was concerned. Although there's some good stuff we wrote, you know, it wasn't a comfortable fit. And we had Elektra Records come and see the band. Jack Holtzman, the president, offered me a solo contract. The same exact week, Mickey Mouse came to see the band from England, and he also offered me a solo contract. So it was, you know, my time to go, and I went. And England was a place for me to go because Jack wanted to take me to New York and make me into the next Janis Joplin. Mickey wanted to take me to England and make me into the first Suzi Quatro, so off I went. And from that moment on, it was male musicians and myself, and then I became the success as Suzi Quatro just on my own, which is where the main part of my story is.
And you were a big hit in the UK and Australia, along with a lot of the rest of Europe. Talk about your rise as a solo artist.
I sold something like 55 million records everywhere. You know, you pointed out Australia. It's everywhere. I mean, it took a while to catch on in America, but every single other country in the world, I've sold a lot of records. The success has pretty much been worldwide the same. You know, it just was a little bit slower in America because we didn't even go there until 1974 to tour. We toured everywhere else. We concentrated on the other parts of the world, and then we finally made it back to my own country.
Suzi Quatro is with me on Revenge of the 80s Radio. Straight ahead, we'll talk about her contributions to the 80s and the up-and-coming girl bands of the time.